Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on what side of the world you're in. I'm HalfLifeSistah, and this is my hubby Wolf Kane.
What's up, everybody?
And welcome to another episode of Sister and Wolf, Love It or Hate It.
So we know what you're thinking. Why are we doing another BabyMetal reaction when we just did one?
Yeah.
There's a lot of you on our channel who probably don't care for BabyMetal,
Right.
and that's fine. Keep an open mind. But if you remember from my Megadeth reaction when I made a mistake, we quickly did another Megadeth reaction to correct that mistake. Because, believe it or not, I am a stickler for getting things correct and being factual. And with BabyMetal, we were completely off. And we can't let that stand. We have to do a proper reaction.
Indeed.
The comments that we got in the BabyMetal reaction were positive.
Absolutely positive.
Positive in the sense that you didn't come at us in an insulting way.
Yeah, or an attacking way.
But you did give us information that has changed or opened up our minds to understanding things in a proper way and made us realize some of the mistakes or some of the things that we were overlooking. When I did the BabyMetal reaction, it was a result of the Holy Wars reaction we did.
Yeah.
Where, you know, I couldn't ignore the fact that Marty Friedman said that BabyMetal was the future of metal. I couldn't ignore that, so I had to do a reaction to it to understand what he meant. Unfortunately, without properly preparing, and as we say on this channel, context is everything.
Yeah.
I myself didn't have the proper context, so I couldn't give her the proper context. And since I wasn't a huge BabyMetal fan, I did some research, but I didn't do the level of research that I needed to do.
Right.
There was a lot of holes, a lot of things that I was missing that I wasn't able to articulate. And as you saw in the video, I was trying to be positive, but I was struggling because I was missing information I needed. And then we also went off the rails.
We completely went off the rails.
We went off the rails.
You know, we'll explain why, of course.
We were completely off the rails, and we apologize.
Oh,
so
we apologize, tremendously apologize.
So I have to do a do-over.
We have to do a do-over, yeah.
And again, to my thrash fans, to my old school metal guys and gals, give this a listen.
Please do.
Even if it doesn't make you a BabyMetal fan, it will at least give you a lot of enlightening information.
Yes.
Even though this is a love it or hate it, it's going to kind of be a metal journey because as I went down the road, I had to keep adding and understanding because my brain requires me to understand everything from beginning to end, not just the end or something. So I'm going to do a bit of a deep dive. It's not because BabyMetal is super serious or anything that's why I'm doing the deep dive. I'm doing the deep dive because for me, I have to have an understanding of everything. Since I feel like I've gotten a much better understanding, I'd like to articulate it to my lovely wife, which is what we do on this channel. Even though this is not exactly on her metal journey.
Right.
You know, we started with Hendrix. The next step in our metal journey is going to be Black Sabbath. But consider this kind of a side journey. Japan, for whatever reason, I'm a huge history buff and a huge World War II, World War I. It fascinates me that these things actually happened in our history.
Right.
And I try to learn from them. And I love Japan and I love Japanese history. I'm a lifelong martial artist.
Yeah.
I've done judo, I've done jiu-jitsu. I love the samurai. It's such a rich culture.
Yeah, indeed.
But I realized that after World War II, I don't know what happened with Japan. I've never bothered to learn what happened after World War II.
Okay.
Like I kind of stopped there and never actually delved into it. And I realized, well, no wonder I have no context. I have no ability to understand what Japan is doing.
Right.
I've never bothered to study it.
Gotcha, baby.
So that's what I did. And I feel like it's important to understand where we are now by learning how we got there, more or less.
Of course.
And what I realized was now to me obvious, but also surprising. So
yes, baby. Okay.
I'll share that with you. And There's, of course, a table of contents in the description. I'm going to put, each subject that we do with the time code. You could skip over to whatever interests you the most.
Hopefully you'll watch the entire thing, because why wouldn't you?
Yeah, don't worry about the length of the video. If you're here just for the reaction, go ahead and skip to in the time code. It's a free country. Right. But if you want to learn about Japan and about Japanese music and the culture and history and things like that, then that's what we're going to cover now today. All right?
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And here's the thing. There's no way I can memorize what I've learned in the last week.
Actually, you started studying this really for the past 3 days. Well, it's been a week. Forgive me. Scratch that.
Yeah, but more so in the last 3 or 4 days since we did that reaction because of the response we got. I realized just how ignorant I was. There's no way for me to memorize it. So
we were so ignorant. We approached it. We approached it in a very narrow-minded way. But I mean, listen. We're always open to learning more. We don't know everything, and
long story short, it's embarrassing.
It's so embarrassing. Before we continue, baby, I just have to thank you all so very much. Oh my God, we always say that our community on YouTube are positive.
Longest comments I've ever seen. But super helpful.
Yeah, but it's what I'm saying is, I mean, we always praise them for being so positive.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
This doesn't make sister cry. Knock it off. The reality is like it's like I said in the Slayer video, when you come with respect, even when you don't agree with somebody, we'll respond to you, and if we agree with you, we stand corrected. And as you saw with the BabyMetal, as you saw with a lot of other comments, when I make a mistake, absolutely, let's discuss it and talk about it in a positive way. Just saying, oh, you're a freaking idiot or whatever, that doesn't help anybody. But when you did all this positivity and you explained to us with caring how you felt about BabyMetal and why, and when you explained to us a lot of the things that we got right and a lot of things that we got wrong, it helped us realize, oh, okay, we didn't consider this, we didn't consider that, and now we're gonna do a proper reaction the way it should have been done. But I don't think I could have done it without first doing that first one.
We couldn't have, but
listening to all your comments.
And we were very apprehensive, mostly me, to upload that reaction, because we knew that we would ruffle some feathers, and we thought we were being as honest as we could from our perspective, but we of course didn't know anything about anything, right?
Definitely uncomfortable. Yeah.
And we knew that we would get the most thumbs down in a very short period of time, and the most comments in a short period of time, and it all came to fruition, right? But I'm so happy that we did. I'm very happy we did, because like I said, we're always open to learning more and being enlightened. And let me tell you, we were enlightened thanks to you all, because I mean, you guys came with so much respect, not just for your love for BabyMetal and for that group and for the genre and whatnot, and but you came with love and respect for us. Most people, when they disagree with you about things that they're very passionate about, there's no respect there. They just you're a freaking idiot. Who are you? And you guys were so patient and so gentle and so beautiful, and I truly appreciate you all so much. So thank you for allowing us, for enlightening us, for giving us all, taking time out of your day, and writing all of these books to us with links. That was just so beautiful, and I'm so grateful to you all. So thank you so very much.
Very helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
Absolutely awesome. All right, so like I said, I couldn't memorize everything in such a short amount of time, so I wrote a little essay, did my homework, and I'm going to just read off of that. This is a combination of the comments that I've read, some extra studying that I've done to try to fill in any gaps that I was missing.
Good.
And just basically trying to get a good understanding. It's only been a few days. I've done my absolute best, spent a lot of hours on this, trying to genuinely understand.
Going to bed super late at night.
And this is for me as much as for her and for everybody else.
Yes.
But I have a desire for knowledge, and I always like to know everything. I like to know the true facts, the true history, not the history that has been written to us.
Right.
One thing that fascinates me is that the real history, as written by the people who actually experienced it, as opposed to the people who present it to us in schools, and you guys know what I'm talking about, tends to be very different. And that fascinates me to no end because I want the truth. I don't want some sort of washed over, glossy version of the truth that makes people feel better. I want the real truth, always. Of course,
always, indeed. Likewise.
So as before, if I do get anything wrong, or if there's anything that you want to expound on, or also add it to the conversation below in the comments. This is what the beautiful community is all about, and we will continue to learn from each other. Okay?
Indeed.
All right, so here we go.
All right.
Remember, table of contents is in the description. So, Japan after World War II. We dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We won't get into the ethics of that, but you cannot change the landscape of a country on a country that size and not expect some pretty significant effects. The fact that Japan was able to recover from that at all and to not hold a grudge, especially with what we did to the Japanese Americans that were here, that we put into camps, horse stalls, and then later gave them $20,000 and say, hey, sorry, makes you bigger people than I think I would be. All right, so Japan surrenders in 1945. 1945 to 1947 involved fundamental changes to the Japanese government and society. Obviously, so they surrender. America and the Allied forces, they occupy Japan. They take over the government. They restructure it. In 1947, Allied advisors essentially dictated a new constitution to Japanese leaders. By late 1947 and early 1948, the emergence of an economic crisis in Japan alongside concerns about the spread of communism sparked a reconsideration of occupation policies. Allies realized that they needed to help rehabilitate the economy of Japan to keep it on course and friendly. So essentially what happens is you destroy this country, you occupy it, you basically give it a new constitution and say, listen, you've surrendered, you want to become an ally, you're going to need to change the way you do things, you're going to need to reduce the power of the emperor to basically a figurehead, similar to, I guess, in England with the Queen. She's technically just a figurehead, but you have a parliament. So you're doing all that, but guess what? Remember we were just talking on The Walking Dead about Negan's people? And if you put them as an outcast and you don't take care of them, they're going to, out of sheer necessity, they're going to have to do something to survive. So either you accept them into society, or you will be facing another war, because you can't just ignore their needs.
Of course not.
Get rid of them or accept them in society. So that's what the Allies realized is, listen, we need to rebuild Japanese economy. Otherwise, how can they rejoin society if we don't help them? We dropped a couple bombs on them. We had a war. The war is over, but their economy is devastated, right? So rebuilding the economy is something that they realized. So this was the next step after the occupation and giving them a new constitution, is to rebuild their economy. In the 1950s, there was the outbreak of a Korean War. And that gave the Allies an opportunity to create a war economy in Japan. They used Japan as a base to go into Korea. And that helped. They were already helping revitalize, but that solidified the revitalization of Japan. All right. In 1951, a formal peace treaty to end both the war and the occupation was signed by 49 nations. There was a couple holdouts like Poland, Czechoslovakia, which is my country, and Russia. But most of the countries signed the peace treaty. 1952, Allied occupation ends, but the seeds of westernization remained. So you think after the war, American soldiers are occupying Japan. This is going to have a cultural effect on Japan.
Of course.
You know?
Yeah, you would think that.
Yeah, so there was already, as soon as the war was done, the westernization kind of started. When I say westernization, I'm talking about a fusion with Japan. It's not just like, oh, now it's going to become like the West. But Western culture is being introduced into Japan.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Wow.
The 1960s had a very similar counterculture movement to the UK and the States and included student protests against Vietnam and government protests. So if you remember the 60s in the States, a lot of protests, right? Against Vietnam, flower power, and all that stuff. There were similar protests in Japan.
Okay.
Student protests against Vietnam,
Women's
student
rights.
protests against the government and the treaties that were signed. So they were having their own civil unrest.
Gotcha.
As we were.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So 1964 is like one of the bigger years, one of the more profound years, because it was the year they held the Olympic Games, open service of the first bullet train, improved the international airport and the port of Tokyo, making Japan more accessible to all.
Okay.
So not only accessible to foreigners, but also the first bullet train made Japan more accessible to its own people.
Jeez.
Yeah. This had serious cultural impact, not just on Japan, but on the rest of the world, who saw Japan as something more than just a former enemy.
Right.
So you have the Olympics, you have the entire world coming to Japan.
Gotcha.
It's one of the first times that on a big scale, the entire world can see Japan no longer as just the enemy that we fought in World War II, but as a friendly people.
Yeah.
It creates a cultural shift of acceptance. Which is very significant.
Yes, indeed.
You know, this is before the internet. This is before we were all connected so easily. It was these kind of big events that really helped shape people's worldviews. In 1966, the Beatles arrived.
Oh, really?
Now, the Beatles arrived in America in 64.
Okay.
And that caused what we call Beatlemania.
Okay.
Which is everyone lost their mind. This is incredible.
Crazy.
It's like the...
In a good way.
Yeah, like the first boy band or something, but it's, on a rock scale, it's crazy. So they arrive in 1966, and they caused their own version of Beatlemania over there.
Gotcha.
All right. The influence, along with bands like Rolling Stones, created a genre called group sounds. It's basically Japanese rock and roll. Okay,
wow,
so
really?
yeah, it's like... Yeah, they made their own... So Beatles came in, and of course, we always talk about influence on this channel. The Beatles and the Rolling Stones and all these British bands and also folk bands in America, they're all starting to influence the generation of artists in Japan.
Right.
What it did is it created these group sounds, which were essentially mostly cover songs of the Beatles and Cream and all these...
Oh, okay.
And this is where I had some awakening. So let me read you this part and then I'll explain.
Okay. I'm listening.
What it ended up being were bands controlled by record companies making mostly cover songs with a few original songs mixed in.
Okay.
Keep in mind, I got this stuff off the internet. If any of it is wrong, feel free to correct in the comments, and we'll pin a comment thread, and then you guys could add on top of what we said so that we can get, I
like that idea.
All the facts corrected.
Indeed. Okay, good.
The group sounds era recording companies didn't really care who played the songs. They just needed musicians who could play a decent cover.
Gotcha. Okay.
The group sound scene was largely contrived, commercialized, and possibly controlled to the point of absurdity. Also, record companies wouldn't let bands associate with other bands and nonsense like that.
It's ridiculous.
There was a band called the Flowers Traveling Band, I think it was. So he went to the UK. He saw Hendrix and was blown away like everybody else.
Right.
He wanted to come back to Japan, start this band, and introduce Japan to Hendrix, Cream, all these great sounds. So he did a band. He would do the covers just like in the group sounds was making popular.
Right.
Problem is, they didn't make original music until like his third album.
Gotcha.
So it was all just covers. So in a way, you can kind of dismiss it. In a way, it was easy in the sense that, why do you have to write your own music if you can just recreate a Japanese version of these covers and then sell it to the masses? So in a way, it's already starting that kind of commercializing, controlled by the record labels kind of deal.
Right.
Now, of course, there were exceptions. There are always exceptions to every rule. There were bands like the Tigers, which were almost like the Japanese Beatles.
Really?
There was a band called Happy End. There was a band called Jax, which kind of reminds me of the Doors. And they didn't fit into that group sounds because they had such a dark kind of moody sound that didn't fit into that genre of commercialization. But for the most part, it was heavily controlled by these record labels. Yeah. And this is where I had a kind of an aha moment. I thought about the record label debacles that we had in the States. I'm not sure how familiar you are with them, but you got a little bit of it with Hendrix and how they tried to keep his copyrights from his family and stuff like that. They signed these artists early. They put them into contracts that they don't understand. They take advantage of them, and then for years they're not making the money that they deserve to be making. Jeez. So some artists being broke when they are like have #1 singles. The band Left Eye was in
TLC.
Right? Didn't they have
to them as well?
Didn't have a similar issue? So this has been happening in America since the dawn of music.
Wow.
And this is the epiphany that I had is, of course it would be happening in Japan. Why wouldn't it? It happens everywhere.
It's everywhere, of course.
But in Japan, it's a smaller, more controlled area.
Gotcha.
So you can, if you are a conglomerate, a company, an agency that gets a foothold early enough in this market, it's going to be very difficult for competitors to compete with you. Because it's not like America where you have this giant area with so much competition and such a high population.
Right, that makes total sense.
And we have a deeper history of music where Japanese culture before the 50s was repressed, essentially.
Gotcha.
So you have this reawakening of Japanese culture. And of course, in the 50s, they had music, of course. They had like the Latin, the jazz, and stuff like that. Again, same as everywhere else. And that's really the lesson I've learned from this, is that Japan really is no different than anywhere else.
Right.
Musically, culturally, they have their own little cultural histories and stuff that they fuse into everything.
Right.
But it's genuinely no different as far as they're all people with all different kinds of tastes.
Well, of course. I knew that. We knew that. Though.
Well, but the thing is, they're controlled by media. And a Westerner like me only is going to see, unless we dig deep like the way we've done, we're only going to see the mass market media stuff that they bring to us.
Yeah, that's very true.
You know?
If you dig a little deeper.
So now that we're digging deeper, I'm like seeing things in a completely different way, and it's absolutely amazing. A great way to fight against these giant labels and agencies is independent music, independent labels.
Independent, right.
Indie music is very popular in America. We've had indie labels since the 50s. Remember Sun Records when we did the Hendrix reaction? That was Sun Records. That was an independent record. When he made that Elvis Presley and he brought rock and roll to America and tried to popularize it, that was Sun Records. That was an independent label. That was 1950. Japan didn't have significant independent labels until maybe the 80s. Okay, there was one or two in the 70s, but it was like a jazz label. And even
a jazz label in Japan?
Yes, well, I told you in the 50s they had jazz, they had Latin, they had swing, they had all of that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so Latin music and Cuban music was very popular in Japan.
What?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying.
Remarkable.
There's when you study the history, it's all there, and
it goes to show that we're supposed to be a melting pot. We're supposed to like mix and
Absolutely.
Jeez, I mean, we're just much more
Always you think
together.
Yeah, you think Japanese like this homogenized single tribe living within itself, but no, within that is diversity and desire for culture, and a desire for other cultures, and a desire for different tastes.
Right.
They're not all lumped into this one thing.
Of course not. Yeah.
A great example of an independent label in Japan, Ecstasy Records, which was formed in '86 by co-founder of X-Japan, a Japanese heavy metal band that formed in 1982, who then released the records in '88. X-Japan is a heavy metal band, so there you have an example of someone taking control, creating an independent label, releasing their record 2 years later, and they become one of the first Japanese mainstream artists to succeed in an independent label.
Really? That's freaking awesome.
They were also pioneers in Japan of what we would consider in the States as glam metal, which is, I guess in a way, like Kiss can be considered.
Oh, hairspray, hair.
Yeah, just very elaborate. It was called visual kai, or visual kei.
Okay, I would say probably kai.
but basically visual style. It was the exaggeration with lots of makeup, big hair, and just very exaggerated. All right, so the 70s and 80s started to see Japan experimenting in electronic dance, alternative, and hip-hop. It also saw, just like we saw in the States in the early 80s, the formation of some thrash bands, some Japanese thrash bands.
Okay, really?
Yeah. United and Outrage, and just old school thrash, just like in the States. Not very different from us.
But I thought that heavy metal wasn't really that popular until BabyMetal, in Japan at least.
I'm giving you all this background so I could explain how we got to this point.
Okay.
Because there was, and again, just like in America, there was a dying down of metal, allegedly. Because I'm sorry, I've been a metalhead my entire life. It's never died down for me. There's a lot of new bands that came out that I didn't care for, but how does that equal dying down? I didn't see the dying down of metal at all. So I don't know what people talk about when grunge came out, that somehow that killed metal. No, it's just another form of music came out that sounded okay, but how is that killing metal? I never understood that. Okay. Also, I always look at metal as something that is meant to be underground and not meant to be popular. So the idea of coming up or dying down never made me understand anything either. Gotcha. And this is part of why I had this preconceived notion with BabyMetal, was that for me, heavy metal music is meant to be real, it's meant to be organic, it needs to be pure from the heart, and it's not meant to be popular, it's not meant to be for the masses, it's meant to be for me.
Gotcha. But?
Well, the but is honestly, that doesn't mean that's the only genre of music I listen to.
Right.
I listen to a lot of music that I don't respect as much as metal. Okay? I listen to techno, I listen to dance music. I listen to stuff that is, probably one guy on his computer putting some notes together, and while that takes a lot of time, I don't think is quite on the same level as four guys learning instruments, bass, guitar, and drums, and doing all that. I don't think it's on that same level. Right. I do believe it requires work and learning and stuff like that.
Of course.
But, again, I enjoy it. I love it. Confusion is one of my favorite songs. It still, to this day, gets me hyped like probably more than any metal song, if I'm being honest. So
have I heard that before, that song?
That's the song they played in like the first Blade movie in the blood orgy scene.
Oh, that was a good song though.
I hear 20 different remixes of that. I can't get enough of that song. But again, that's on a computer. There's no, I get it. So the issue is that it's what, and this has always been the issue, is it's what mass market media wants to sell. It's whatever sells. They don't care about artistic integrity. They just want to make money. They did it in the group sounds, and they're doing it today with the idols and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
It's a money grab. And every once in a while, like we learned, there are exceptions. And this is where we made the mistake with BabyMetal, is not realizing that they were an exception to the rule. I kind of...
Exception to what rule, though? That's the
I'm
thing
going to
that
explain.
people are lost on.
Well, we're going to get to that. But I just, I hinted in the other video that I felt like it was an exception because I was getting that vibe.
Yeah.
But I didn't do enough research to really understand truly why. And of course, that's where all your comments came in.
Yeah.
So this is a shout out to autohmae and a lot of the other commenters. You know who you are. We've been having a dialogue back and forth.
Oh my goodness.
But I'm taking autohmae's comment in particular, and I'm changing. I'm putting some of your actual words in here, and I'm going to read them to everyone so they could hear what you've said. And I'm going to add my own words in between so that it all becomes
a cohesive.
Yeah. I'm filling in some of the gaps of my what I didn't understand into it. So you're going to hear your voice, but it's not going to be word for word. Before I start reading, to reiterate. Japan had the same counterculture that we had in the States. The same reason I started listening to metal, because I didn't want to be a part of the system. There are people in Japan who feel the exact same way I did.
Okay.
And they still exist today.
Gotcha.
And the reason I didn't recognize it is because I didn't dig deep. I didn't look.
Right.
And again, I only know what the media throws at me when I'm not paying attention. And that's my mistake and that's my bad. And some we're going to correct now.
Well.
Yeah. So here we go. Ready?
Ready.
So here we go with the comment section here.
Alrighty.
I think you get many things right and wrong. For example, what you got partly right is how BabyMetal is exception in some ways, but not always in the way you thought it would be. I think what many metalheads don't understand about BabyMetal is that, yes, idol groups in Japan get created by concept format first, girls second, but Kobametal, Kei Kobayashi, which is the guy behind BabyMetal, is a metalhead who is used to working with bands, not idol groups. All right? So it starts with Kobametal, a genuine metalhead, someone who loves rock and roll, who loves metal, who just happened to be working in the idol industry. Right? We all got to make a living, right? So he joins Amuse talent agency in 1996, promoting rock bands. Amuse is a huge one of those big talent agencies we talked about. However, as he points out, this talent agency is more traditional, not like a lot of the other mass-produced idol J-pop group companies.
And J-pop means Japan pop music.
Japanese popular music. Yes, which technically covers group sounds, not metal obviously, but group sounds, electronic, all the stuff that's popular in Japan from the 60s until now. It just so happens that right now what's popular in Japan is the idol type music and the stuff we're hearing. But that doesn't mean that is solely J-pop, because it covers all of Japanese popular music, the same way it does in the States.
Right.
You've got popular music in the States from Michael Jackson to Linkin Park, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, there's all popular music.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
That makes sense, right?
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Okay. Now, so this is where I add some of my own information here because I wanted to understand Amuse better, and I wanted to understand exactly how it all came together. Amuse put together an idol girl group called Sakra Gakuin in 2010.
Beautiful name.
I will do my best to pronounce these as properly as possible. The premise of the group was that they were schoolgirls in their growth period between 10 and 15 years old and their academic years. The group covers themes of school life and extracurricular club activities. Extracurricular, yes. All right. So it's designed to be for kids by kids.
Right.
And it's designed to mimic school life.
Okay. Gotcha.
All right. That's the whole concept of it.
Oh, really? Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
And so what happens is at the end of the school year, the group releases an annual studio album. New members transfer into the group, and others who finish compulsory education graduate or leave the group.
Oh, that's why they have a tendency of switching them over for.
Well, in this case, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So in this case, it actually makes sense because the whole concept of the band is that they're girls in school, and it's. I can see how if I'm a schoolgirl,
right.
I have this band that I can relate to and look up to. It's kind of
it's a great this is beautiful.
It makes sense, right? It's not.
Total sense.
It's again, we're not the target audience here.
Yeah, we're not.
You know?
It just so happened that it evolved into something much more. They probably weren't even expecting this. They were hoping for, but
I mean, this is fun. This sounds fun, right?
It does, yeah.
So during this time, J-pop and idols are drowning out other genres in Japan. This is where we talked about...
They're drowning out other... Really?
Well, again, popular music, right? So if all you see in media is... Let me cover... So 1990s and 2000s, pop songs were often used in films, anime, and advertising, becoming some of the best-selling forms of music in Japan. The rise of disposable pop has been linked to the popularity of karaoke, leading to criticism that it is consumerist, right? Rock and metal was starting to die down in the mass market area, but never died in the underground, and the foreign bands continue to sell out shows there. Listen, if I go on the radio right now and I look for a heavy metal station, I'm not going to find one.
No, you won't.
All right, because that's not popular in where I live. Now, some places like California and stuff, yes, you can find metal stations probably, but not where I'm at. I got to get satellite radio or something, right? I got to go out of my way because that's not popular music. Again, same thing in Japan. What's being shown in advertising, in cartoons and TV and movies is all of the pop stuff because that's what the companies feel sells. And then the people who don't pay attention much to music are just going to listen to whatever's being played, right? Whatever's on the radio is fine. Not a big deal, right?
Exactly.
And that's one of the appeals of what BabyMetal did, was that exposure that we talk about.
Yeah,
but we'll get to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw a video, one of the people who commented, linked the video, and it actually made me cry. It was so beautiful. It was, it was a reporter, I believe, or a news station, and they were giving us some background. And I think the creator of the group, BabyMetal, was saying that
Kobametal.
Right. How he wanted to wake up heavy metal in their country, and he felt that this would probably do that, you know.
Yeah.
And also the girls, they sing about positive things that's positive, that's uplifting and empowering, you know. And it just really moved me to tears. It was just so beautiful.
Yeah, the context for me is now just completely different. It's amazing how 3 days can just completely change everything you think about something.
Completely,
it's bizarre.
Completely. But from comment 1 though, it was like, whoop, big thing. Like,
yeah.
Whoa,
I mean, now it seems obvious, but at the time, we just didn't put the time and effort into really understanding.
We just instantly thought one way, and it was clearly the wrong way.
This is why I had to do what I do with all this research, because that's the only way my brain can ever interpret things properly, is to really understand the whole picture, not just one particular picture like BabyMetal. Yeah. I need to know how we even got here. I want to do it because I like this kind of information. I like this kind of stuff.
Exactly. I'm excited, baby.
This is what this channel is about.
I was looking forward to this reaction. I really have, because I mean, I've learned a lot, and I mean, Wolf has done some research, and I'm excited to learn even more, and I'm just so happy. I love being enlightened and lifted, and I truly feel that I have been elevated learning about this big time.
So like we were saying, that there was drowning out the other forms of music. So Kobayashi was asked to work with the kids division because metal and rock just wasn't as popular. Okay. So now Kobayashi is working with the kids.
Okay.
Okay. To support the school themes, Sakura, Gakuin, the band, they began the formulation of subunits, similar to what you would see in school, like a science club, like a tennis club, like a cooking club.
No way.
All right, so fun, right?
That's super fun, of course.
One of the clubs they ended up making was a heavy music club.
Wow, Japan. That's brilliant.
Yeah. So before I go any further in that, I want to at least talk about a little bit more about the lead singer, because it kind of was built around her. Where like we had that previous notion where these things are, you know, you come up with an idea and then you fit whoever you think will fit in that and will sell. In this case, it was kind of the reverse, which became one of the exceptions that we learned about yet again with BabyMetal. All right, so Suzuka Nakamoto.
And I hear she can sing.
Suzuka Nakamoto. Let me give you just a kind of a checklist of some of her things.
Okay.
In 2002, Nakamoto won the Grand Prix in the Image Girl contest for Jewel Drop, which is a toy line cosmetic company by Bandai. She subsequently starred in several Jewel Drop commercials.
Okay.
All right. In 2006, she was admitted to Actors School Hiroshima.
Okay.
In 2007, she was signed to this talent agency, Amuse.
Okay.
After becoming runner-up in the Second Star Kids edition held by the company.
Okay, so she's an accomplished young lady.
You understand?
Young woman now.
She's putting in some work here, and she's earning her spot, right? So in 2008, her agency formed a trio called Karen Girls, and Suzuka was selected to be in it. The choreographer for the group was Mikiko Mizuno, who would later also become the choreographer for Sakura Gakuin and BabyMetal.
Okay.
All right. Suzuka revealed that she made a promise to Mikiko to never cry on stage in order to deliver the best performance for the audience. The group sang several theme songs for the anime Zatai Karen Children.
Oh, wow.
And disbanding in 2009 when the anime ended its run. That was where Kobayashi discovered her. All right, so the Karen's Girls were particularly put together to sing for this anime.
Gotcha. Right,
to represent this anime. So when the anime ended, so did Karen's Girls.
Gotcha.
All right. So what happened was she then gets absorbed into Sakura Gakuin. Right, the big girl band. Right. So Kobayashi in 2009, he accompanies one of Amuse's bands called Mini Patty. which would become the cooking club themed of the Sakura Gakuin group, to a farewell concert for Karen's girls. Farewell concert, meaning so the anime came to an end, and he's taking this other band to the concert where Karen's girls are performing their final performance. Saying goodbye to their fans because the band will no longer exist because the anime doesn't exist.
Oh, wow.
So at that concert, he sees Suzuka and is immediately impressed by how big her sound is.
I gotta hear this woman's, I have to hear her voice.
So he's like, she has an unusually loud voice for a pop singer. And he thought, I don't know, she kind of would work for metal.
Really?
Yeah, so that's where he's starting to formulate this idea that maybe this girl's voice is better suited.
It was nothing like what.
Yeah,
My mind is blown. Okay.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
So as Sakura Gakuin was creating all those subunits, the following year Kobayashi created the subunit for Heavy Music Club. Heavy Music Club, that's what they called it. And of course, Suzuka joined the club.
Of course.
She joins the club with fellow members Yui Mizuno and Moa Kikuchi, which are the two girls on the side.
Of course.
All right.
So is that why she's always in the middle? Because she's like...
She's the lead.
She's the lead.
She is the lead singer, period. Okay, the girls are back. He
formulated the band around
her, essentially, yes.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow. She must be really impressive.
Yeah. And again, so she's in BabyMetal. They take the moniker of Su-metal, Yui Metal, and Moa Metal.
Okay.
Okay, and of course, Kobayashi is Kobametal.
Oh, wow. That's adorable. Okay.
It's kawaii.
It's kawaii. And it's... Oh, gotcha.
It's totally kawaii.
Oh, wow.
When they perform their club live, they go under the moniker BabyMetal. All right?
And here I am thinking... I'm like, is that why they call it baby? My mind was in the wrong place, people.
We were wrong on so many levels.
God.
So many levels. So as autohmae says, basically this tells us that the talent came first and the concept came later.
Okay.
Which, to me, helps and is an important distinction. So as with the style of Sakura Gakuin, the band that she were in, even though this was a club, she was still part of that band. When she graduates in 2013, guess what? It's time for her to leave.
Yeah. So now what? They got to do something with that talent?
Now we have yet another exception.
Okay.
Because she leaves the band, but she branches off and becomes BabyMetal.
Yeah.
All three girls, they form the band and they become BabyMetal.
Right.
So now a new exception where the club is no longer part of Sakura Gakuin. It is now its own thing because Su-metal has left the band, but Su-metal needs to continue her career. And
now I get.
And she's doing it in BabyMetal.
Respect her so much. Not just her. They speak the whole group, but I mean, her in particular. They speak so highly of her.
The reality is that without the girls there, it's not BabyMetal.
Right,
and that's something that's very different from something like Sakura Gakuin, where you expect new people to be interchanged. You know, but that's a different concept.
So they are an exception to the rule.
Well, that technically makes them a real band.
Exactly.
Because that's who they are. You know?
Exactly, but not saying that the other bands are not real bands. I mean, you can formulate a band. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
So in 2014, they released their first album under the self-titled name BabyMetal.
Okay. It's amazing, though. They've done so much, and wow.
All right, so now I'm going to read the rest of autohmae's comment, and then we're going to do the reaction.
Okay, cool.
All right. So this is where he addresses some of the other problems that we had in the video. BabyMetal, in a way, is an in-between between completely fabricated, mass-produced pop on one hand and also organically formed through the events we talked about on the other. Some fans like to say it's not mass-produced, it's precision-engineered with love and respect for the craft and performed live that way too.
Kind of feels like it is based on what I've heard.
Yeah. Also notice how they never claimed to be a metal band. They clearly incorporate metal in their own way, so that's why it's in the name. But they are a hybrid, crossover, whatever band, or at most their own metal subgenre. As we already discussed, there's no switching out of members, unless they can't physically perform, of course, because it was talent first and the rest came second.
Awesome.
So you can't just replace the talent. It's not the same group anymore.
Yeah, right.
And I totally agree. This was my issue with some of the other bands, but again, BabyMetal is an exception. Kobametal never taught these girls anything about metal, only answered questions. He let them explore. They were just 11 and 12 years old, and basic concept really is the journey so far is of these girls discovering all the different subgenres of metal. When you dig deeper, clearly almost everything BabyMetal does is based around the girls, young ladies. 2 of the 3 even wrote their own songs. Obviously, others made the arrangement. So,
Wow.
so what changed my mind here is that you're on a metal journey.
And yeah,
There's a lot of stuff you don't know.
Yeah, that's why it touched me.
Kobayashi put these girls on a metal journey. So even though at first they might have been afraid of metal, they didn't understand metal.
It.
The fact that they were put into this band and they took ownership of the music, and now after 8 years, they're still doing it. And I have to believe that at this point they're metal fans.
They are, yeah, of course.
So Kobayashi didn't pressure these girls into liking metal.
Yeah.
He kind of let them find their own way. They were able to do their own thing. And if now, because one thing I hear a lot in the comments is that now the girls are maturing, their sound is changing a little. If that's happening organically and now it's becoming better integrated into the music, that tells me the girls at the beginning were doing their little J-pop thing because that's what they were comfortable with,
right.
And now they're becoming more comfortable with the more mature content stuff, and that makes complete sense.
Of course it does.
Complete sense.
And I hear that they also have their own record label, I think. I read that or saw something, a recording or something.
If that is, that's awesome, because again, just a lot of exceptions here that really put them as a nice standalone band,
Indeed.
Now, you wanted to discuss this a little bit, where in the video, you asked, why does she look like a child?
Yeah.
And...
Because, we have to be honest about why, our initial thought was what we thought. It's not that we thought that cute was sexy. We based our opinion of that on... Help me out, please.
We made assumptions that weren't there. We live in America, and we have dumb crap like... toddlers and tiaras, and we somehow equated kawaii with that, and we shouldn't have, because when I did the research, I don't see any of the sexualization on any level that you see on TLC and these other channels.
If you guys don't know what that is, look it up. It's just it shouldn't even be on TV. It shouldn't even be a thing, but it is.
So that was just straight ignorance on our part.
Oh, absolutely,
straight up. And he answers your questions perfectly. Why do they look like kids? Because they were.
They were kids, right?
Yeah. So.
And now.
What do we want them to do? Look like adults?
Well,
sexualize them? No.
Well, no. But that's the thing, though. That's the thing I think people misconstrued. We don't think that children should look like adults. Of course not. I was just confused that why, as adults, she's 20 years old. Why is she now still looking like a kid? That's the thing that I didn't understand, and I associate it with.
Well, why are you saying that when she doesn't?
Well, no, I mean they were dressed like a kid on that. But
she wasn't 20 years old in that video.
Well, I didn't know that.
That's important to know.
I didn't know she was 20 years old.
That's why I'm trying to use more recent pictures of them.
Okay, but I didn't know that.
Yeah. Even then, it wouldn't matter because Hello Kitty came out in the 70s. Cute culture has been around in Japan for a very long time, and even older women, and this again led to my confusion, even grown women like to look cute because that's just a part of the culture. That's just pretty cute. Dogs are cute, cats are cute.
Yeah, and
they want to be cute. It's just cute. We tried to sexualize something that shouldn't have been sexualized. Do some guys find it sexy? Sure. Some guy, give anything to any guy, he'll find a way to make it sexy. Right. I get that. We can't worry about people like that.
Yeah.
What they do it for and their purpose is very singular, and it's about being cute. He makes another excellent example here where he says in translation-wise, when we say something is cute, hold on, let me find the comment. All right, he says cute has two meanings. So in English, adorable or sexy and attractive, right?
I never knew that in English. Okay.
So yeah, it's got but kawaii, all right, is only the first, adorable.
Adorable.
So in America, we have multiple definitions for it, but for them, it's just being adorable. It's not meant to be sexual or attractive.
Gosh, all this time I thought it was that they wanted adults to be kids, and I just didn't. I never really understood it. But
just
now,
Western ignorance.
Yeah, just, jeez, I feel. Should we delete or hide that other video? Like,
there's no reason to have false information out on the internet.
Absolutely not.
There's enough false information out there already,
Indeed,
or ignorant, or
indeed.
incorrect information.
Yeah,
and we're not about that. So
we leveled up, baby.
Yeah, we're gonna remove that. There's no reason for it to be out there.
Jeez Louise.
All right, so he concludes BabyMetal has increased sales of many other metal bands in Japan and foreign bands in Japan, and even increased the sales of other metal bands outside of Japan. That was definitely part of the idea. Give metal more attention, again, so every genre can have its own place in music, not be drowned out by these other genres.
Gotcha.
They are the dark heroines of the idol J-pop industry, trying to get idol and J-pop fans into metal, or even remind them of the old metal they used to like, but got bored for many years. I guess like Marty and all the other guys.
Gotcha.
So I guess this is where Marty comes back into the picture here, which it's his fault he started this whole thing.
I know.
From what I understand from Marty Friedman's interview, he's not talking about the instrumentation specifically. He says in Japan, they aren't afraid to experiment.
Right. So I guess he's just saying basically the way they are stepping us out of the box,
yeah,
and incorporating J-pop with heavy metal.
Yeah,
being different outside the box.
Before he went to Japan, he was already incorporating the style of Japanese enka singers in his guitar playing, because that was what he was hearing on the Japanese radio and he was listening to. Why do people keep looking only at their own genre and not looking outside their own world?
Wow.
How can you keep growing personally and as a genre when you only look inside your own pond? Yeah, so I mean, I do feel like in that particular comment, metal does have a lot of mixing of genres,
right.
Folk metal, black metal, symphonic metal, techno metal, Nintendo core. There's a lot of
Nintendo core before.
The band that started it, Horse the Band, I'm a huge fan of. Everything that came afterwards, I haven't heard many good things, in my opinion. But Horse the Band, if you haven't heard them before, check them out. All right, but I get what he's saying. I mean, that doesn't mean that it has to stop there. If J-pop wants to mix it with metal and whoever else, whatever else, we might not be the target audience for it, but it's okay.
But the thing is, I'm very open to listening to all the different types of genres. I don't care. I was open to listening to BabyMetal. I was super excited, But I mean, that particular song just didn't do it for me. It just didn't.
Right, and again, even if we don't appreciate the mixing, that's okay. If we're not the audience for it, that's okay.
That's fine. Yeah.
That doesn't make it any less of what it is, and that doesn't change the impact it's having on the world, and that's still significant. So good for them.
Indeed, and I'm very happy that they did that. It's beautiful. And I, honestly, one of the reasons why when I watched the little news stations recording, one of the reasons why I cried after watching it is because they're doing something on a wide scale, on a large scale, that I want to do, with my small platform. And I wanted, I'm hoping that at some point I could attract people to my channel in hopes of getting them to like heavy metal. It'll make me so happy to know that I've, introduced someone to this music that I love so much. And they're doing this in a very wide scale. It's beautiful.
And for me, I like doing this. I like the information. I like nostalgia. I like going back and remembering how we got here. I like history, and I'm not afraid to talk about religion either, as William remembers from the Slayer reaction.
Oh, really?
I don't see your comment anymore, man. What happened? You know you're talking.
Oh, stop it!
Calling you out.
Stop.
All right, one final thing about the old video, and then we'll get on to the reaction. Is you asked? We talked about them not being allowed to have boyfriends.
Yeah.
I'm going to read you what he says about that.
Okay.
He says, well, actually, we don't know. Here, BabyMetal is also partly the exception. There are many agencies who organize meet and greet events to increase the sales of their CDs. BabyMetal does not do anything like that. They only did this 2 times in Singapore and at an anime convention. BabyMetal is completely closed. They only appear on stage and in interviews in their on-stage personas, right?
Okay.
You can't ask personal questions in the interviews. There is no behind-the-scenes footage. There's no meet and greets. Now, why is this? Well, it's part of the concept for one, but also Kobametal has kids, and he clearly wants to protect these girls as well. So they could definitely have boyfriends, etc. We really have no idea. And paparazzi doesn't really exist in the same way or numbers in Japan as they do here in the West. Okay. Nobody seems to be prying in the same way.
Gotcha.
Because in Japan it would be considered disrespectful.
Oh, and you know what? It is.
There you go.
Huh. Well, okay. Okay.
All right, so the song I chose was Rondo Nightmare, Live at the Budokan. If this isn't the one you wanted, I know there was a lot of requests for Road to Redemption and things like that. We're going to continue to listen to BabyMetal. Our feelings have changed. Whether we like the song or not, we're still going to give them a chance in other with their other songs, and we definitely have an open mind, and we have things in a much better context. Indeed. So don't worry if this wasn't the song that you were hoping to get. We're still seeing this in a very different light, so we're gonna check it out and see what's going on. Yeah.
Indeed. I'm excited.
Want to let a burp before you're done? Start? All right.
I'm really in love with the band.
This has a similar intro to the other one.
The bass.
Fire.
God. Yeah, I like that. This is a beautiful song.
Gorgeous.
Jeez, the way he's playing that.
Bass is ridiculous.
These guys are freaking amazing. The drum is pretty dope too. Jeez. They are serious. They're like legit. Oh man, that was beautiful. Yes.
Mischief of the gods.
already sounds different.
Oh, this is 2014, so she should be, I think, 16 here.
Okay.
But it does already blend better. Got some piano in this as well. Easier if you just let it out. I'm not gonna lie, I feel slightly emotional too, just because it's so sweet.
It's so beautiful! Oh my god!
Context really is everything.
It's not just the context. That was so
Su-metal doesn't cry, why do you?
That was so beautiful. Her voice is so sweet. And it's so freeing. That was so sweet and so beautiful. And the song felt very, it felt very lifting. Like whatever she was singing about was definitely, it was like, she was pulling you in, oh my god, to like, it was almost like a freeing song, you know, like it was about freedom. It was about rising above. I just felt like I was floating. Oh god, her voice. Why you failed me, Wolf. The first song was not the business, but this was so beautiful. Oh, her voice was so sweet and so angelic. It was so light and very freeing.
Can I make a comment about the first song?
Oh god.
You said it's not the business, but honestly, I haven't gotten that song out of my head in the last week.
Listen,
I kind of like it. I'm not gonna lie.
It's not horrible though. But listen,
like
I mean,
it
honestly,
started as me kind of making fun, and then I'm like, I keep playing it in my head.
Oh my
I'm like,
God.
wait a minute, am I enjoying this?
Let's focus on this though.
Okay.
This is just. This was so beautiful, and you know, here I'm thinking that, you know, I'm like, okay, the band is everything. Of course they are, right? And I'm like, the band is like the icing on the cake, and they're opening up for her to come out. And the entire time I'm playing, I'm thinking to myself, I'm hoping I don't get disappointed like I did last time. I'm hoping that I'm like, whoa, because it was kind of like a shock to my ears when I first heard the first song. It was like, whoa, what am I hearing? Why? What is this? What's happening? And I was honestly trying to focus and just be in the moment and present. And I was hoping that I wouldn't feel that way when they came out. And let me tell you, baby, from the very start, that very first note she hit, I was just like captivated. And I wanted to hear more.
Yeah.
And wow, did she give me more? Ooh.
And
wow.
and I see the appeal. You know, once we drop the preconceived notions that we had about whether it's appropriate or inappropriate, once I just genuinely take her in, like the whole character,
so
the whole
beautiful.
persona, the whole look, the way the gods look, the way she looks, like I get the whole thing. It's
my God.
It's very entertaining.
It is.
Very
it's so beautiful, and it's almost like you're watching. And you know, I said in the other video reaction that I can imagine people that are into anime would love this.
Yeah.
But honestly, listening to this song, when she came out, she captivated me, and she kind of took me on a journey. Her voice alone took me on a journey, and I was like in a freaking fairy tale or something. I don't know. It just took me away. It was just so freeing and lifting. Holy crap! I'm surprised. Oh my God, though.
Take your headphones off.
Oh my goodness. I am blown away. And honestly, yeah, I'm blown away.
So love it or hate it.
Oh, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I love it. I love it. What about you?
I love it too. I'm not going to say that this is going to go on my workout playlist or anything. Maybe at some point it might. I definitely like watching their live concert and the performance.
Oh, yes.
A lot. But I'm definitely looking at them in a very different light, and I'm far more accepting, and it does strangely make the music sound better. It's like I said, not everything I listen to I respect, but the more I respect something, the more I appreciate it and the more I like it. So it does matter to me to a certain extent.
This feels like a fantasy.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. This is just, it was refreshing. Thank you all so much.
And thank you for being respectful and understanding and realizing that maybe we just didn't know any better.
Yeah,
I'm hoping if you've been watching our content that we are open-minded and we try to be as fair as possible.
Of course.
And in that reaction, we just unfortunately
dropped the ball.
Yeah, we just didn't have the whole picture, and that's a mistake that I rarely like to make. So
me too.
I needed to do this reaction for my own.
I mean, I thought I was the most open-minded person in the world, but I guess I wasn't.
But again, you said I failed you. I did fail you because it's my job to give you the necessary context you need, and I didn't do that.
Yeah, that's true.
So this is completely on me.
But this is why I love our community,
Yeah.
You guys, never cease to, they're always quick to...
Much respect and much love.
Correct us when we need it. Mm-hmm. We're always open to improving ourselves. So yeah, I enjoyed this so much. Thank you for all of this research you did, baby. You did a great job.
I had to. Like I said, for my own sake, I had to.
Wow, I'm so happy. I'm happy now. I like BabyMetal. Well, that song I like. But I appreciate BabyMetal. Even if I don't like all of their music, I appreciate their existence. I really do.
There are bands you like that have good songs and bad songs.
Of course, of course.
So as far as I'm concerned, I like BabyMetal. I may not like every song they make, but I like BabyMetal.
I do too.
I do.
Oh, they're wonderful. Exceptional.
Much respect to Kobayashi.
Kobayashi, of course.
And I get it.
It's a visionary.
I get it.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
I'm loved. Thank you, baby. Well, I hope you guys like this reaction video. I'm hoping this one here gave you I
hope we didn't miss anything.
I hope we didn't miss anything, but if we did, of course, comment below. We're gonna be sticking around after the upload of this video for a good hour. We're gonna be in the comments with you guys for a good hour, so please do comment below. If you liked it, please do give us a thumbs up. Don't be afraid to share it as well. And do not leave without subscribing, okay? We are a variety channel. We're going to be giving you guys a lot of fun songs and reactions and stuff like that in the future. So please do click that subscribe button.
And as always,
keep it metal, baby. Metal forever.
Love y'all.
Yeah. Bye. Please click the link below to see my schedule on Twitch and join me live and be a part of all the beautiful fun. Now, before you go, please don't forget to click that follow button. And if you don't want to miss out, be sure to turn your notifications on. But if you ever miss any of my streams, you can always watch them back with ease by clicking here.
We're gonna kill these mosquitoes.
Thank you for watching, everyone. Please don't forget to follow, subscribe, like, and share.